How does a snake strike with deadly accuracy in complete darkness? Imagine being in a cave so black you can't see your own hand. Yet a rattlesnake hunts like it's broad daylight. Night vision? Not quite. What they use is far stranger. Heat vision. But what does it mean to see heat? And how does it give snakes an edge sharper than any technology humans have ever built? Welcome to WildFact Lab, where animal superpowers meet real science. Some snakes are living thermal cameras, detecting body heat differences down to 0.001 degrees Celsius, 1,000 times more sensitive than human skin. But how do they pull it off? Hidden anatomy? Special brain wiring? Or something even stranger? And here's the kicker. Snakes perfected this system millions of years ago, while we're still struggling to match it with billion-dollar tech. So which snakes carry the secret weapon? And how do they use it to rule the night? So, which snakes actually see heat? Is it all of them? Not quite. Only 3 families carry the secret superpower: pit vipers, pythons, and boas. But why just them? Because each of these hunters needed a survival edge for night hunting. Imagine being a mouse sneaking out under cover of darkness, thinking you're safe, only to realize a predator can see your body heat glowing like a torch. Creepy, right? Now, how sharp is this sense? Scientists found that pit vipers can detect temperature changes as small as 0.001 degrees Celsius. That's 1,000 times more sensitive than your skin. Think about it. If a candle flickered in a pitch-black room from a meter away, a rattlesnake would see it, even if you couldn't. But what about pythons and boas? They're just a little less sensitive, but still have the power to track prey in half a meter of darkness. So why the difference? It all comes down to their anatomy. The strange little pits on their faces that act like biological thermal cameras. But how does a hole in a snake's face become a deadly sixth sense? Let's zoom in on the pit viper's secret weapon. But what exactly is this secret weapon? If you look closely at a rattlesnake's face, right between the eye and the nostril, you'll spot a strange little opening. Is it just another nose hole? Nope, that's the Loreal pit, and it's the key to one of nature's most advanced sensors. So how does it work? Inside, there's a paper-thin membrane, just 15 micrometers thick, about 1/5 the thickness of a human hair. Why so thin? Because it needs to respond instantly when hit by infrared radiation, the invisible heat energy coming off every living thing. But how do nerves pick up something humans can't? The trick lies in TRPA, one-ion channels, special molecules in those nerve endings that fire off the moment infrared warms the membrane. Now here's the kicker. Pit vipers have 2 Loreal pits, one on each side of the head. Why 2? Because with them, snakes can triangulate heat just like our eyes triangulate light. The result? A living, breathing, 3D thermal camera that can lock onto prey with surgical accuracy. Imagine wearing night vision goggles, except 1,000 times sharper. But are pit vipers the only ones with this deadly tech? Not quite. Boas and pythons play the same game, just with a different design. So if pit vipers have their super sharp Loreal pits, how do boas and pythons keep up? Do they miss out on heat vision entirely? Not at all. They just took a different evolutionary route. Instead of 2 big thermal cameras, they went for a network of smaller ones. Look closely at a boa or python's upper lip, and you'll notice tiny round holes, sometimes up to 13 of them in a row. But why so many? Each of these is a labial pit, like a mini motion detector tuned to heat. Instead of precision triangulation, Boas and pythons get broad coverage, almost like having a ring of little security cameras around their mouths. Is it as sensitive as a pit viper's Loreal pit? Not quite. Boas and pythons can sense changes down to about 0.01 degrees Celsius, which is still ridiculously sensitive compared to us. So what's the trade-off? Pit vipers get laser-like accuracy, while boas and pythons get a wider field of view. In other words, vipers are snipers, boas and pythons are surveillance experts. But once heat is detected in those pits, whether Loreal or Labial, how does it actually become vision? That's where the real neural magic begins. So here's the big question. What happens after those pits detect heat? Do snakes just feel warmth on their face, or do they actually see it? The answer is mind-blowing. Their brains literally turn invisible heat into images. How does that even work? When infrared radiation warms the pit membrane, those TRPA1 ion channels we mentioned fire like tiny alarms. But instead of going to the tongue or skin nerves, the signal travels through the trigeminal nerve, a direct hotline to the brain. And what happens next is even wilder. The signals land in a brain region called the lateral descending trigeminal nucleus, basically the heat vision processor. But here's the twist. Snakes don't keep heat vision separate. Their brains fuse it with normal eyesight, overlaying a glowing thermal map on top of what their eyes already see. A 2024 Yale study proved this, showing that snake brains integrate both signals in milliseconds. Imagine if your eyes and a thermal camera blended together seamlessly, updating faster than you could blink. The result? A predator that doesn't just sense heat, it sees it as clearly as you see color. So how does this ability play out in the wild? Let's step into the hunt. So what does heat vision really look like in the wild? Picture this. A mouse scurries through tall grass under a moonless sky, thinking darkness is its shield. But to a rattlesnake hidden nearby, that mouse is practically glowing, like a lantern moving through the night. But why strike right away? Snakes are masters of patience. Thanks to heat vision, they don't waste energy chasing shadows. Instead, they wait perfectly still, while their thermal sensors ping every time warm prey gets close enough. When the heat signature lines up, bam! A lightning-fast strike, faster than you can blink. And here's the kicker. This isn't just useful in the open. Heat vision works in burrows, dense leaf litter, or even total darkness where normal eyesight fails completely. So while we rely on flashlights or the night vision goggles, snakes are running on a natural superpower that's sharper, faster, and completely silent. But is this sense flawless? Not exactly. Every superpower comes with limits and trade-offs, and snakes are no exception. So, is snake heat vision basically perfect? Not quite. Like every superpower, it comes with a price. For starters, range. A rattlesnake's Loreal pits work best within about 1 meter. And boas, or pythons, closer to half that. But why so short? Because heat signals blur with distance. Great for striking prey, not so great for long-range scouting. Then there's the energy cost. Keeping those ultra-thin pit membranes and sensitive nerves active takes serious metabolic fuel. Why does that matter? In nature, every calorie counts. A snake can't afford a sense that drains too much energy unless it pays off in survival. And here's the kicker. Not all snakes even have this ability. Why not? Because it's not useful in every environment. Tree-dwelling snakes, for example, often rely more on sight or smell. Heat vision is specialized. A weapon forged for ambush hunters waiting in the dark. So snakes evolved a balance, a sense that works brilliantly in close quarters, but isn't wasted where it's not needed. But here's the bigger question. If snakes can do this naturally, how does their ability stack up against our best human technology? So here's the million-dollar question. If snakes can sense heat this well, how does our technology stack up? After all, we've got thermal cameras, night vision goggles, even military-grade sensors. Shouldn't they blow snake senses out of the water? Surprisingly, no. Modern thermal cameras can detect small temperature shifts, but not down to 0.001 degrees Celsius like a pit viper. And even when they do detect heat, they're slow. Processing takes precious milliseconds. Time that can mean the difference between life and death in the wild. Snakes? Their brains update thermal images instantly. No batteries, no screens, no lag. So are scientists jealous? Absolutely. In fact, engineers are studying the structure of pit organs right now to design bio-inspired sensors. Imagine medical tools that could detect fevers earlier, or search and rescue robots that could see heat signatures under rubble like a rattlesnake in a burrow. Even the TRPA1 ion channels are being studied for new pain therapies, since they're so finely tuned to temperature changes. Bottom line, nature's design is still beating billion-dollar tech. But maybe the real takeaway is this. Snakes have been perfecting heat vision for millions of years, while we're only just catching up. Snakes aren't just cold-blooded, they're natural thermal imagers. With paper-thin membranes, TRPA1 channels, and brains wired for fusion, they've mastered heat vision better than any tech we've built. And they've had it for millions of years. The snake in your backyard could outsense the gadgets in a billion-dollar lab. So which would you pick? Pit viper precision or boa and python surround sense? Drop your answer in the comments. I'll be reading them. Hit subscribe for more animal superpowers. Give this video a like and share it with someone who'd be amazed that snakes basically invented night vision. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next WildFact Lab adventure.